I want to thank the witnesses for being here today. I call the meeting to order. We're in the middle of votes, and members may come and go. Based on that, today we're having a hearing on a series of water bills that address protecting water rights and promoting water development in the West. Four of the bills are ones I am sponsoring. They are S-593, the Bureau of Reclamation Transparency Act, S-1305, a bill to amend the Colorado River Storage Project Act to authorize the use of the active capacity of the Fontenelle Reservoir in my home state of Wyoming, S-982, the Water Rights Protection Act, and S-1533, the Water Supply Permitting Coordination Act. I'd also like to note that I'm pleased to be sitting in for Subcommittee Ranking Member Mike Lee. He and I share a commitment to ensuring that we protect water rights and examine ways to promote more water for rural and western communities. I'll briefly explain the four bills I'm sponsoring, and then if other members show, they will have an opportunity to give opening statements. After that, I'll recognize any other sponsors of the bills being discussed today for their statements. S-593, the Bureau of Reclamation Transparency Act, is a bill to require the Secretary of the Interior to submit to Congress a report on the maintenance backlog of the Bureau of Reclamation. S-593 seeks to expand on the information provided by Bureau of Reclamation Asset Management Plan by providing a detailed assessment of major repair and rehabilitation needs at the project level at Bureau of Reclamation owned and managed sites known as reserved works. The legislation also asks the Bureau to develop a similar assessment for sites owned by the Bureau but managed by other entities. They are known as transferred works. I believe it's important for Congress to know the maintenance backlog of these sites so that we can begin to address it. I will note that this bill unanimously passed the Senate in the last Congress. S-1305 is a bill which would amend the Colorado River Storage Project Act to authorize the use of the active capacity of the Fontenelle Reservoir in my home state of Wyoming. The purpose of 1305 is to have the Bureau of Reclamation enter into an agreement with the state of Wyoming to complete the area around the Fontenelle Reservoir to increase the storage capacity of the facility. Fontenelle Reservoir is one of the projects authorized by the Colorado River Storage Project Act of 1956. This bill directs that of the state of Wyoming pay for the entire project. This includes paying for the study, the design, the planning, and construction of the project. This common sense bill would provide much needed water storage for southwestern Wyoming. S-982, the Water Rights Protection Act, is a bill to prohibit federal agencies from withholding approving permits unless the permittee gives up that privately held water right to the federal government. This bill also prevents the implementation of the Forest Service Groundwater Directive, which would essentially allow the Forest Service to comment on and require permits for anything the agency claims would impact Forest Service groundwater. This includes activities that would occur in any watershed where there is Forest Service land. This legislation would prohibit the Secretary of the Interior and the Secretary of Agriculture from asserting jurisdiction over groundwater that has been historically controlled by the states. The bill also recognizes the state's longstanding authority related to protecting, evaluating, and allocating groundwater resources. The purpose of S-1533, the Water Supply Permitting Coordination Act, is to streamline the current multiple agency permitting process that delay the construction of new or expanded surface water storage by creating a one-stop shop permitting process through the Bureau of Reclamation. Currently, federal agencies are not required to coordinate their permits and approvals with one another, which can lead to significant delays in the development of new water storage. This legislation would put the Bureau of Reclamation in the lead role as a coordinating agency to expedite the process. I believe this important bill will help expedite the construction of new water storage projects throughout the West. As other members appear, I will call to them. I'd like to recognize our witnesses today. Ms. Diane Thompson, Deputy Commissioner of External and Intergovernmental Affairs of the Bureau of Reclamation, Mr. Gary Meisner, Chairman of the Dry Redwater Regional Water Authority, Mr. Adam Schempp, the Director of Western Water Program Environmental Law Institute, Mr. Charles Stern, Specialist in Natural Resource Policy, the Congressional Research Service Library of Congress, Mr. Tony Willardson, Executive Director, Western States Water Council, and Ryan Yates, Director of Congressional Relations, the American Farm Bureau.